What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I'm going to talk about the best skills to get in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So we're going to go over a couple skills, 2 skills each for each class in this game. We're just going to talk basically about those skills very, very briefly. Now, these skills may not be the highest ranked skills. So these skills aren't always going to be at the top of the chart for each of the classes. But these skills I do think are overall really, really good skills to get, especially early on in the game. These are the skills that you should be looking to get as soon as you get the game immediately. They're going to give you an advantage in the game, especially against higher enemies, which is really what we're going to focus on for the majority of this video. So the first tree we're going to talk about is the warrior tree. In this tree, the 2 skills I'm going to recommend are actually skills that you get to play in the beginning of the game when you play as Leonidas. Now, these skills are actually relatively early on that you can actually get them as whoever your character that you pick, and they're Bull Rush and they're Sparta Kick. And you do get to play in the beginning of the game. You get to use these skills quite often, but these are honestly some really, really good skills. Sparta Kick is an extremely powerful move. It not only is like a stun move, but it is a move that can create separation between you and an enemy. And both these skills, by the way, are used commonly. I would use them commonly against higher up enemies. They actually work really, really well taking out enemies that are a higher level than you, which is very good because, even if the things that you've heard about this game, the negative parts of the game of the really high enemies, or even when you level up, the enemies are leveling up, and how a lot of the fights in this game are a little bit unfair. That's a lot of the negativity that's come from this game. These skills help you massively with that, because Sparta Kick is going to give you separation. It's going to stun the enemy at the very least, but if you do it at a strategic point, if you kick them over an edge, depending on how big the edge is, they do an insane amount of damage to the enemy. So again, really, really powerful to get an enemy that's a higher level than you, get some separation, get your stamina back. Maybe if you're taking a couple hits in a row from them and you're losing a lot of health, this is a good way of doing that. And Bull Rush is, again, much the same. It's a skill that seemingly you do not take any damage as you're charging up for it, and it does an insane amount of damage to the enemy. So basically, again, if you've seen the beginning of the game or you've seen the skill at all, you basically charge them or jump in the air and attack them. Very, very powerful, pretty easy. It doesn't take that long to unlock it, and overall it's a very powerful skill. It does a lot of damage, and you do not get hit while you're using it. So combining these two are very, very good, and honestly I do think there's a reason why they put these 2 skills in the beginning of the game, kind of the tutorial section of the game, because they are very powerful skills that you get to play and kind of get to use out in the beginning, and they end up becoming pretty powerful once you actually get them as well. For the Assassin skill tree, I want to talk about Shadow Assassin and Stealth Master. So Shadow Assassin is pretty simplistic and honestly doesn't do anything that overly flashy, but what it does is it moderately increases the amount of damage you're going to do when you stealth assassin somebody. Enemies that are around your level, you tend to, if you assassinate them, you tend to, it's a one-hit kill, you tend to kill them. However, especially early in the game, or when you have a bounty on your head and you're facing any enemy that's super, super high level from you, 1, 2, 3 levels higher than you, if you were to just do an assassination on them without this skill, you're going to do extremely little amount of damage to them. But when you equip this skill, it does much, much more. Now, it does not guarantee you that you actually get to do a instant kill, but you do more damage, and also boosts a knockout damage too. So this overall just kind of improves the base assassin in you, and that's honestly what Stealth Master does as well. It just makes you quieter. Stealth Master makes it so that enemies can't hear you as well when you're killing their friends. So if you're assassinating somebody in a far distance, the game is pretty friendly when it comes to that, and they won't have enemies hear you all the time, but they do sometimes, and this makes it a little less likely that they actually get to hear you. And the more you level up that, again, the more kind of invisible you are to them in terms of seeing and hearing you. So those are a 2 good pair of assassin skills that you can put together. But again, those ones, and the assassin tree in general is more about just kind of upgrading your overall play style as an assassin, whereas the other ones do kind of give you those extra abilities that you have to equip on the touchpad, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, and so that's why those ones, those are just a little bit different kinds of skill trees. And for the Hunter skill tree, I want to talk about Predator Shot, and I want to talk about Arrow Master. So Predator Shot is very, very powerful. It's like a blowback kind of shot, where things slow down and you unleash a arrow, and if you do it the right way, or even if you aim at their head, you do significantly more damage, but if you aim anywhere, you do more damage as well. So this overall just increases the amount of damage that you actually get to do. It's a really good way of starting out a fight, or even if you're in the middle of the fight and you're a little bit further away from them, doing that is a very, very powerful method. So that, that kind of just boosts the amount of power you have with the arrow. It's nothing super fancy, but it does that. And then when it comes to Arrow Master is like the Sparta Kick, and that's actually why I like it so much. This lets you knock out enemies instead of killing them. So again, very, very powerful, very good at taking out large groups of enemies, not necessarily the biggest kind of enemies, not necessarily enemies that are like super skilled or super high leveled over you, but definitely good to clear out a group. So that's a really good one too. So that one is a little bit more of, again, it has the stun kind of mythology of the Sparta kick. There's other ones. Now, that's the whole point of this video. That's the end of the skills. Those are the 6 skills that I would honestly recommend. But when it comes down to it, this all depends on your play style, depends on what you guys like to do. You may want to go heavy into one skill tree. You maybe want to go heavy into another. You're going to play a little bit different. Everybody's going to play a little bit different. That's what these Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey are kind of teaching, is to play, how you want to play and play Assassin's Creed a little bit differently. So these skills are definitely not for everybody. But let me know in the comments below, guys, what do you think of the skills I chose? What skills would you recommend people to pick up, whether they are just picking up the game or whether they've played the game for several hours? Let me know. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, podcast. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to have more Assassin's Creed content on the channel over the next coming days, and I hope to see you there.